So this one might not be as professional as sailing prisms, but I got in contact with Brutons and got a Sigmadrive to replace my flex coupling. They didn't show you the heartache of installing it. Not installing, but removing all this stuff. Real world install of the Sigmadrive model SD55. They give you 3 holes, slight inboard, center, outboard. You find which holes are appropriate for you. Put your studs in here. Oops, look at there. I got one incorrect and the other 3 are backwards. There's an Allen head, hex head to tighten them up. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on there. I'm not sure if the instructions said to do that or not. Read the instructions. The spacer was not in the instructions. I'm assuming this is supposed to go in there to help align it with this, but it does not say anything about this. So I'm going to have to double check before I put that in there and make sure it doesn't space it out too far, because there's no room for error. And then this goes on the shaft, where this monster that took me about an hour to pull and get off replaces that. You simply slide it over the shaft, that way, over the shaft, and when you put it into the Sigmadrive, it will clamp down on it, and then you bolt it into the appropriate hole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that right? That is correct. So 8 bolts, we'll pull that in tight, and I guess if you ever need to pull it out, you take the screws out, the bolts out, and put 1, 2, 3, 4, and push its way out. And that's it. So the install of this thing is super easy. I'll say the only problem I had is the thread holes weren't very clean. So they were kind of hard to get in, but I didn't realize that you could do it with an Allen head, so that would definitely help, but I think those should have been a little cleaner. Like when I first got this, I actually dug a bunch of little brass out of a couple of the holes, and then the transmission will go back in. So my final thoughts on the Sigmadrive. Is it worth, I think it's 650 bucks? It is not. If you have a really fancy boat and you just have a lot of money to spend, it may help a little bit. The problem is, they say you don't have to get the alignment right, but it still has to be in the center. It doesn't have to be exactly straight, but it still has to be in the center. The shaft and the engine have to align up to where when you pull that in, it still has to match dead center. The engine can be a little cockeyed up or down, but it's still a lot of work, and you might as well just go ahead and align the freaking engine and use the coupling you have and save 650 bucks. So also, I screwed up the coupling when I installed it. I know you're asking, how'd you do that wrong? But that's between me and the boat. So I messed it up, and it didn't quite grab on the shaft. And when I put the boat in reverse, after already having it out for a couple of days, it actually spun the shaft out and almost out of the back of the boat. This is kind of a rubberized tape that I put on here to mark it to keep from leaving any marks on the shaft. And it actually hit the packing gland back here and stopped it from spinning all the way out of the back of the boat. So if you ever do have a failure with this thing, for some reason it comes loose or it's not tight enough. This one actually had to tap on there. But it can spin your shaft right out of the back of the boat, when the flex coupling would not have done that because it's bolted onto the coupling. No, I don't think it would have. Not like this one possibly could. Also, they changed the style of this. The old one had one big split all the way down. This one has 2 splits on the part that actually goes into the CV joint. So there was obviously already a problem with it, and what I did obviously didn't help. So, like I said, not worth the time and the money to put it in a 35-year-old boat. It's not going to save you that much, because honestly, you don't align the engine that often, and if the back of the engine drops down or moves left or moves right, you're screwed. If the front of the engine moves a little bit, it's not going to hurt you as bad. But if the back of the engine moves, your alignment's going to be off anyway, and it's still going to wear out your cutlass bearing. Not that much of an advantage. Maybe if you had a dead nut straight on and nothing ever moved, but at that point, why don't you just use a regular flex coupling? Also, the shipping, $65, which for the original $650 piece, $65, and it'd expedite DHL shipping. You appreciate getting it quickly, but then it's set on the boat. They don't give you an option for shipping. Set on the boat for probably a year before I installed it, and then when I had to order the new coupling piece with the 8 bolts, which I didn't have to order 8 bolts, which were over $1 a piece, another $10 for bolts. I could have gone down and I said, just go ahead and ship them. It was another $65. It was here in 3 days, but it was $65 to get it, and I was in no rush, and there was no option. So it looks pretty. It's neat to show off, but it's in a hole where nobody's ever going to see it but you. And I'd say save your money and invest it in something else other than that. Thanks for watching.